So happy to be back. My first Manifesting Monday in about 2 months almost. We're talking about manifesting, death, and soul contracts. So if this is something that you want to talk about, listen to, learn about, let's talk about it. Hi. Hi, everybody joining. Day by day, things get... I don't want to use the word easier because it's not that it gets easier. It just changes. And change is inevitable in this crazy life and manifestation of whatever this shit show is called Earth. What's up? Hi, everybody. I'm happy to be back. I've been up since like 6 a.m. and I was like, I can't wait to go live today. But I wanted to talk about soul contracts and how manifestation ties into that, because I think it's so important when life-altering things happen to us and we just say, why? Why did this happen? Why did this happen now? Because you can't wrap your brain around things that you can't remember. And coming back here is about, in many ways, remembering who you are, remembering who we are, remembering that this here is a game. And we come here to play this game with all the people in our soul posse. And we get to play this game and see how it plays out. And before we come here, we're probably saying, well, you're going first, so let's go and have fun with this. You know, and someone said, we're all going to die. The scariest part of death is knowing you're leaving life. But you're not leaving life. You're changing clothes. So many people that have written books about hundreds of people that have had these near-death experiences, or they died, they came back, that it's just like waking up from a dream. You're like, wow, that was a crazy dream. And you see all of your posse who've already transitioned when you get there. And how this ties in with manifestation is it's the remembering. When we have these thoughts or these worries throughout our lifetime about things, or that you just have like a knowingness. And I'll give you the example with Leo. My sister and I always said, and we always thought, and we always believed, we can never see him suffer. Like, we could never see him suffer. I'll die if I see him suffer. If he got cancer or something that was a lingering thing, like, my sister and I would never have been able to handle it. So our higher self knew about the contract already. So we agree to these things before we come here. Now, again, this all goes back to beliefs, but I don't believe it's a belief. I believe that it's an actuality, that we make soul contracts before we come here. And we say, okay, I'm going to go in this lifetime. This is going to happen. This is the way that it's going to go. And these are the lessons that I'm going to learn. I'm signing up for it. And I have a remembrance of Leo, us being there with him and him saying, like, if you really want me to come back this time, okay, but I'm not staying long. I don't want to go back there and party. Like, I'm good. I already did my thing. Like, my soul is already evolved enough. I don't have to go back to that prison planet, but I'm going to do it for you. I am a Leo. Yeah, I'm a Leo. So he came back here and he fulfilled his soul contract. And then at that exact moment that he was supposed to leave, and we'll talk about exit points, he was like, I'm out. In our soul contract, we said, okay, you're going to go fast. You're not going to have really a long terminal illness. This is what you want for this lifetime that you're going to come in here. So was there a knowingness from my higher self, my sister's higher self, that we always just believed, like, we can never see him suffer. Like, oh, we can never handle it. We can never see him suffer. So he chose the fastest exit out of here. The thing that happened to him was so rare, people see it once in a career of 30 years. That you can go to the bathroom And then all of a sudden you start to internally bleed and you die. That's what happened to Leo in a nutshell. He went out for his walk. He was happy. Everything was fine. He went to the bathroom and then he collapsed. There is no other explanation for these things. And so our higher selves know of these contracts. So maybe in your lifetime, you've always thought or had a fear about something, like, worried about your kids or something, or worried about your parents, and then they die. And then you're like, see, I always knew that something like this was going to happen. Like, that's the remembrance that we have. That's our connection to the higher plane of ourselves that do remember. Do we manifest someone else's death? It doesn't work like that. When I've spoken about like people that were abused as children, often will manifest, not knowingly, will often manifest an abusive relationship, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is. And until we learn the lesson that we're supposed to learn through the abuse, it will continue to happen because it's still within our consciousness. And if it's still within our consciousness, it's a magnet to us. It's manifesting all the things that are deep within our consciousness. I'm not worthy. I'm so broke. I'll never lose weight. All those things are deep in your consciousness. So it can only attract those things. Oh my God, it's so hard to lose weight. How many times I've heard people say, oh my God, it's so hard to lose weight. You have that belief becomes a magnet to your reality for every reason that you're not able to lose weight, because you continue to attract it. Because on a cellular level, on an unconscious, subconscious level, you have that belief. And this matrix system attracts all the things that are deep within our consciousness, because it's just a magnet, just energy. We're attracting all of those things. So again, going back to people in abusive relationships, people that were sexually abused, often later in life somehow are raped or things like that. Are you manifesting that? No. But the energy that you carry, the trauma that you carry, is a magnet, because those are feelings. Emotions are energy in motion. So if you have these emotions all the time about these experiences, and even if it's not on a conscious level, it's on a subconscious level, that's what attracts your reality to you. So on a subconscious level, did I manifest Leo to leave the way he did? That was his soul contract. But on a higher level, I knew that that's the way that it was going to happen. Maybe I didn't consciously know that this was going to happen this way, but on a subconscious level and on a higher level of understanding, we knew we could never see him suffer. So is that a manifestation? Not as much as it is with a soul contract. Manifestation can't interfere with a soul contract. If you are supposed to go and transition in a certain way, there is no amount of thoughts that are going to change that, unless there are multiple exit points in our lifetime. There are multiple exit points for all of us. How many people in here have had near-death experiences? Or something that, like, oh my God, if I was just a second earlier, like, I would have been done. How many people have had children or people in their families that have had near-death experiences? Those are known as exit points. And I used to listen to Sylvia Browne. I don't know if you guys, you have to remember Sylvia Browne. I used to watch her on Montel Williams all the time. I was obsessed with this lady. But she talked about exit points, and she mentioned, I think, that we have 5 exit points. I don't know if that number is accurate or whatever. See, there's a lot of you that have had near-death experiences. But I remember this. I mean, how long ago was Sylvia Browne? Like 100 years ago? I remember her talking about this. I used to buy all her books when I was a kid. I was just so fascinated by this shit my whole life. So I went back and I was thinking, I'm like, oh my God, when I was, I don't know, maybe 10 years old, me and one of my friends were riding our bikes. We were like in a secluded neighborhood, like in the city, but our neighborhood didn't have a lot of traffic because the only people that were driving through that neighborhood were people that lived there. So there was a street, and then you turn the corner, and there was like maybe 200 feet. And then there was another street right behind that with a row of houses. So me and my friend turned the corner, and I'm going here, and like cars can come this way. I slammed into the front end of a car, and I flipped off of my bike, and they had to call an ambulance. Like, I was okay, but people, my mother, like we lived, like you could hear, my mother could yell my name and I would be able to hear her from where I was. And they heard the crash. And then someone was like, call an ambulance, like Krystal, whatever. And so my mom's screaming and like, I was fine. Like I vaguely remember this, but I remember that I was okay. And I don't know if I even went to a hospital or what happened. But say I was a second faster, I would have been under that car and I would have been gone. Exit point. My little sister was diagnosed with cancer at 18. She had a tumor in her chest the size of a football. She was in the hospital from December, I think, until April. She was in ICU mostly the whole time. That was a friggin' exit point. I can't tell you the amount of suffering that she endured. I cannot explain to you what we witnessed and all the crazy things that happened in between that. There was a lady named Patty Angel. I told this story before. But all this crazy stuff happened. She could have left. They said they gave her 24 hours to live. We don't know they didn't know what to do with her. But the will she had to live. You can't imagine what she went through. The amount of suffering. Like, I cannot explain this. She could have just said, you know what, I'm good. Like, my soul did what it needed to do. I'm out. But she made it through. So her soul contract wasn't over. She was meant to be a mother. The doctor said you should freeze her eggs. She was 18 years old. You should freeze her eggs. After this is 15, 14 years ago, maybe. The highest kind of chemotherapy and radiation that you could possibly get. I don't know how she lived through this other than her will to live, and she was not ready to exit because she had other things to do, like be a mother. But the doctor said you should freeze her eggs. She's never going to be able to get pregnant. You know, I mean, between the chemo and the radiation frying her entire body, they didn't think she was going to live, let alone have kids. She now has 2 boys. These kids are gorgeous. Gorgeous children. So her exit point, she didn't take that exit point. Could she have? 100%. She could have just said, you know what? I'm really tired. My soul's tired. I learned what I had to learn here. I'm ready to go. But when we have these near-death experiences, that could have been our exit point. But for those of us that are still here, that have lived through bad car accidents or just you almost drowned or whatever it could have possibly have been, illness, and you're still here, that means, hi Benny, that means that your soul was not ready to go. And so what I came to learn is we have a soul contract and we can choose different exit points, right? And in between those exit points comes manifestation. Manifestation is simply our energy being projected out and the same energy being returned to us. If I think I'm the biggest loser, I'll never have any money, I'll never amount to anything, my entire life experiences will reflect that. I was driving down to the city yesterday and I drove like kind of through University City and there was a homeless person. I was like, I want to give this person money. And as I got closer, I already rolled the window down. I realized that this person was really bad on drugs. They had like marks all over their face and it was clear that this person was a drug addict. I still gave her the money. What is her beliefs about herself, or what is the trauma that happened to her that has led her to this? Do you manifest becoming a drug addict? No. Consciously. But all the things that lead us to the places that we get to happen as a result of our inner beliefs about ourselves. I'm not worthy, I'm worthless. Nobody loves me. I'm not lovable. Maybe you were abused. You're just like, I'm just a piece of shit. What especially when it comes to addiction, it all stems from trauma. But trauma is a feeling. That is what we then manifest into our everyday reality. That maybe you have all this trauma, so now you have rage and anger, and you're angry every single day. You are going to manifest or call in experiences that make you angry. Whether a person looks at you the wrong way that you didn't like, or you tripped over the curb and then you fell and now you're more angry, and then something else happens to you at a store, and then someone says something to you that you don't like, and all this stuff ensues because of the energy that we're putting out. So going back to soul contracts, I even took notes today. And I can't read them because I can't even read my own handwriting. I write in shorthand and then I can't understand what I write. Yeah, we talked about the intuition part of knowing or understanding why things happen. And when you experience an incredibly significant death in your life, you want to know the why. Why did this happen? How did this happen? How could this be? But then when you really zoom out, you understand that everything happens perfectly and divinely. And there is not any part of me that ever wanted to let go of Leo anytime soon. My sister would always say, you're going to be here with us until you're 30, bud. You're going to be here with us until you're 30. And there was no part of us that wanted to let him go. But when I spoke to Leo a couple days ago, I don't exactly remember what I asked him, if it was like why or, whatever. Like, he gave a visual of me and Jen. Like, he showed me us not doing what we were supposed to do because of him. Because a big part of us held back from what it is that we're working on now and what it is that we're doing next. We held back because of how much we loved him and how much we wanted to just be with him, and that we just didn't ever want to make him uncomfortable or have to drag him here and there. Like, we're just like, Leo wants to sleep today. We know he wants to sleep. So we would just not do things because we knew what he wanted or what he needed. And so he told me, he's like, I had to leave because you wouldn't have done what you're supposed to do with me here. If I stayed here for another 5 years or another 7 years or another 10 years, you would not have done anything that you're supposed to do. You would have given up your life to do anything to keep me here. And sure as fuck, I would have. I would have done anything to keep him here. So when we have significant deaths, we have to zoom out and we have to look at why that happened in the way that it did. Not even in the way that it did, but just at the moment that it did. Because timing is everything, and everything is divinely timed. And there's no getting out of that. There isn't any getting out of our soul contract. Like I said, we talked about exit points. Could you choose different exit points? Sure. If I would have been a second sooner, I would have been under that car and I would have been dead. I was 10 years old. But then who would be here doing this? Who would have been exposing all the COVID lies in 5G? I don't know. But I came here for the Great Awakening. So if I would have taken my exit point when I was 10 years old, I would have missed so many things. So my soul was not ready or aligned to leave then. So we could leave at any of the points in time of our exit, of the exit points. But it's only if our soul's like, yeah, you know what, I'm good. I'm gonna go now. But our soul and our higher self chooses other things. Teddy, hi. The energy this weekend, yikes, had a falling out with my 22-year-old son, is what it is. But sometimes things just need to happen for our soul's evolution, for our greater good of ourselves, right? Everything happens for a higher purpose. Everyone's exposing, but the Jays have the media control. The same reason thousands have been protesting to no avail. So again, when we zoom out of all the things that are going on in the world, everything literally goes back to energy and the manipulation of it. Everything in this entire world is controlled by energy. And when I start to talk about this other stuff, like I have so many notes of things about talking about what happens after we die, why Mary Magdalene was erased, and she was just minimized down to be a prostitute because she was teaching people what to do after you die. And I had a really difficult time with this after Leo left, that things about God and why, things about understanding that this realm has been taken over for the last couple thousand years by dark entities, and how can God allow this, and free will and all this other shit. And it led me down the rabbit hole of the book of Thomas, the book of Enoch, and Mary Magdalene, and what her teachings were, who she really was, and how important she was. And she was the counterpart of Jesus, and she wasn't just some whore that was a follower of Jesus. And those books talk about the fallen angels, or whatever you want to call them, that took over this realm in every capacity. And then it gets down the religion rabbit hole, and then it gets down to who Jesus really was and what they made him on purpose, which I said this on a live before about Jesus. But everything here is manipulated by energy, which is why they continue to mess with all the radio frequencies, and the radio frequencies from the early 1900s coincide with all of the pandemics that ever happened from then until now, that they changed the radio frequencies, and all of a sudden there's this illness, there's a pandemic, and they give them names, the Spanish flu, and all these other things. But it all has to do with the manipulation of energy. And when it goes back to when you're talking about who controls the world and blah, 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 how do they control the world? That's what we have to understand. The news media and this and that. We can talk about that all day, but what is it about the media or the information that you're giving? Why is it able to control and manipulate the masses? Because of the energy that it gives out. Map of consciousness goes back to energy. The lowest on the map of consciousness is shame. They shame you. There's fear down there. There's jealousy, there's anger, there's apathy, there's grief. Those are all things that live in the lowest paradigm called the survival paradigm. And as long as the media can manipulate you with fear, you're living in the lowest paradigm, which is the map of consciousness, which goes back to your lowest frequency, which is energy. So I don't give a shit about wars or this or that or anything that's happening. It's happening because it's manipulating the frequency of Earth. And as long as it keeps the frequency of Earth, the majority of people on Earth, in a low vibrational state, all of the evil things can happen. They turned, and I said this before, they turned Jesus into a god because he reached the highest level of consciousness, which was enlightenment. And with that type of energy, which there was only like 5 people recorded in history that reached that level of enlightenment, they can transmute the negative energy of 70 million people. So if they're teaching you that there's this God named Jesus, you are looking at him like he is so above you, you could never, ever be like him. But he was teaching you, you can do what I can do and even more. Because he knew the path to enlightenment, and that's what he was teaching people. The kingdom of God is within you. Why do you think he was saying that? Because you create your own heaven or you create your own hell. Heaven or hell is a state of mind, which is energy. So as long as these evildoers can manipulate this matrix system here that was taken over, they will have power over all of us. And they have even, according to Mary Magdalene, they have even infiltrated death, which is the craziest thing. So I was reading a lot about death after this. I'm like, I need to find him. Where is he? I need to go to wherever that he is, and I need to find him. It's all history is BS. Exactly. And I say this all the time. If you think history from 100 years ago, they lied about the Holocaust, you don't think they lied about Jesus? You don't think they lied about anything about your religion? Religion is man-made anyway. We don't need religion to get to God. Don't get me on that subject. I have the book on Mary Magdalene. It's on Spotify. I think it's called Mary Magdalene Revealed, possibly, by Megan something. Okay, so that even the death plane was hijacked. That they siphon our energy, they siphon our souls to return back to Earth. But I'm not going to get into that today because that's like a whole live in itself. And that was in the gospel that Mary wrote. The book of Enoch, the book of Thomas, it was all talking about the fallen entities and how to bypass it. Why do you think they left that out? Everything that I have is not backwards because everything goes back to energy, and there is no backwards with energy because energy is the ruler of everything. If you manipulate someone's energy, you can control their life, which is what they do every single day, every single minute. Our cell phone is altering our energy. Our computers are altering our energy. The 5G systems around here are altering our energy. The news media is altering our energy. Everything that we input into this computer system is altering our energy for the good or for the bad. You have a choice of how you want to live your life. The blocking of the sun, our true source of everything, is what we should be focusing on and stopping. The problem is, are there many of us that are awake? Maybe there's millions. I'm sure there's millions of us. There are billions of people that are being manipulated. So our millions compared to their billions, do you see why that's a problem? We need to continue to follow what is on the map of consciousness, get out of the survival paradigm, which is fear, apathy, guilt, shame, jealousy. I don't remember what else is on there. And we need to get into reason and integrity. And it's when we work our way up the ladder, more of these systems start to fall away, which is why the earth is shifting and changing from a spiritual perspective, a physical perspective, because too many people are waking up and they're changing the frequency of earth. I'm not talking about all this dumb stuff. Like, this is very 3D, what you're saying. I'm not trying to be an asshole, but like, I don't talk about this stuff because it's null and void in this conversation. When we're talking about energy and all this other stuff, like, yes, that is energetic. But when we're talking about millions of people that are awakened versus billions of people that are asleep and their energy is still in the survival paradigm, that's why we're stuck. That's why we're stuck. I get what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying. From sports on down, it's all energy harvesting. I understand. And again, it just all goes back to energy. But going back to manifesting death and soul contracts. Do we will people to die? No. Our soul contract is our soul contract. We have the exit points, right? Leo could have gone when he was exposed to the pesticides. He was so sick, he was paralyzed. He could have detoxed to death then. Then he got the Lyme disease and had the internal bleeding where his entire chest was purple. His platelets were so low, he should have never lived through that. But he was like, nah, I'm going to stay. I still got more stuff to do. I still have more lessons to teach my mommies. So 2 years passed of a dog that on paper, it's like, this dog should not even be alive and he should be really, really sick. He wasn't because of his soul contract. And I was just like thinking about, I'm like, well, did we how did this happen? Like, are we one of the reasons why he's not here because we didn't want to see him suffer or whatever? Divine timing. And when you go through these things, you want to be in denial and you want to blame yourself or you want to find reasons and whatever. But when you really zoom out of all of this and you go into the phase of a person transitioned and why, and, you know, people that have these sudden endings of a car crash or murder or whatever, that we have to look at their life as a whole. We have to look at their will to live or not live. People that manifest their own diseases because on a higher level of understanding, they already know what's going to happen to them. someone that I know really well that passed, like, she always said, like, I hate my boobs. Like, I hate my boobs. She had the most gorgeous, huge, bigger than mine. She had the most beautiful boobs. I hate my boobs. She would always say, I hate my boobs. She got breast cancer. She's like, I'm chopping both of them off. I don't want them. I'm chopping both of them off. And she did. So on a higher level or higher plane of existence and understanding, do we know what's in our soul contracts? Somewhere up there, there's a remembrance of things. And when you zoom out again, it's like, what did this person teach? Like, she ended up passing away. She's 35, I think, when she passed. And when I zoomed out and I looked at her life, like, she taught people how to be unapologetically themselves. When I tell you, if you wanted the truth, you go ask her. She'll tell you. I'm like, does my butt look flat? She's like, Chris, you lost your ass. Like, you need to go do some squats. Like, this is when I was really sick and I lost a lot of weight. If you wanted the truth, you would go ask her. So I knew when I looked out and I zoomed out, like, why did this happen to her? Like, she was so young, but she taught everybody how to be, anyone that she met, she taught them how to unapologetically be themselves. And that's a big mission, because most people walk around this lifetime never understanding themselves, never understanding like anything, hiding who they are, or I'm a certain person if I'm at this point around this person, or if I go to work, I talk different. Like, so when we look at transitioning, of course, we're devastated from that. But why did it happen? And I'm saying this because of what I experienced with Leo, who is the closest soul to me in this lifetime that will ever be. No matter who I'm with, family, this, that, like, he was the closest soul to me. So just looking at it from that perspective, like, why? Why was it July 10th? Why was it that day? Why did this happen? He knew that if he didn't go, and his soul contract wasn't fulfilled, and this is the other crazy part that I didn't talk about in the live, the day before he left, his service dog tag, you know, the keychain, key ring things, and you have to open the thing and then you have to turn the thing around, like, it's impossible to get it off. His service dog tag that was on his harness for 11 years fell off in my sister's driveway the day before. My sister called me, she said, I just found Leo's service tag in the driveway. And like, I was so freaked out. I was like, what do you mean? Like, that's crazy. Like, that could never happen. Like, how did that happen? The day before he left, his service tag fell off. Never once in 11 years did that happen. So when you look at the signs from the universe of these things, what the fuck are the odds of that? I was so freaked out. I was just like I thought about it for a while, and I'm like, that's like, it can't fall off. It wasn't broken. She was like, it's not broken or anything. Like, you have to open those stupid round metal things, you know, the things on your keychain that you like break your nail when you try to do it, and it keeps closing. That's what that was on for 11 years. It fell off. So when you want to talk about like, why did this happen? Like, his service was complete, and he knew that if he didn't take this exit point, my sister and I were not going to do it. We were devoting our life to him. Like I said, he regulated my soul. I would have kept him here for 100 years. I would have given up my entire life for him. So for something like that to happen, we could zoom out and we can look at all the pieces of the puzzle pieces of someone's life, and then understand, like, what were they here for? Like, what was their purpose? Why did they go so soon? Why did this baby come here and then got really sick and died? Like, what is this showing me? What part of my soul needed this experience? And then it just happens. But what can help anyone is understanding, one, that we have soul contracts that we have to fulfill. Two, that we have several exit points that we can choose to leave here. And three, we don't manifest death. We manifest everything in between life and death. and say that, we end up being a drug addict and we overdose or something like that. There are things that lead, there are manifestations that lead to that exit point. Subconscious ones. But the higher self always knows. So when something tragic happens to someone, a relative or something else, like, I always knew that something like that was going to happen. That's not you helping to manifest their destiny. That's you remembering somewhere that there was a soul contract that you signed off on for this experience. And I think that's helpful when you're going through loss to understand that there's fucking reasons for everything. And maybe we don't understand them. And maybe we don't want to understand them. Maybe we still want to ask why. I'm just like, why now? Like, why did this have to happen right now? But if it wasn't now, whatever lessons that I needed to learn would have just been prolonged to later on in my life at a time where maybe the thing that's supposed to happen because of this is delayed, or it doesn't happen, or I miss it, or whatever. So, Ben, that's amazing. Human experience is fun. Well, it depends on who you ask and what day it is. But I was happy and excited to come on this morning and share this because I think that it helps people with difficult times and to just see things from a different perspective or a different point of view, and to help understand better. Because if we just zoom out and realize that everything is energetic and that we know things or we feel things and there's a reason for that. It's not just coincidental. It's not just like, oh, I thought this and then this happened. That's so weird. Like, we are powerful entities. We can do so much more than what we are doing here now. And we can change all that by altering our frequency and energy. Yes, of course, the feelings still hurt. This too is divine timing. Thank you. Right? Everything is divine timing. We show up at places and we're like, oh my God, I was meant to be here. Like so many people that you just randomly meet in somewhere you just never expected. Those are also divine intersections. There's so many people that my sister and I have just met at the most random places. And we're like, well, yeah, they're supposed to be. They were with us before, and now they're here now. So just always remember there is a divine purpose for everything that happens. And if we want to change the trajectory of where our life is going, not our exit point, but where our life is going, we have to shift and change our energy out of a victim mentality. And there are so many ways to do that I've talked about in a million of my lives. I'm reading Between Death and Life by Dolores Cannon. Highly recommend. So anybody that's interested, get that book. And I would love to read that as well. I love Dolores Cannon. She was so amazing. So if you have questions, feel free to reach out. And just thank you for everybody that's continued to just reach out and, give their love and things. Because our communities that we create here matter more than we think. Especially when there's times of sadness or trauma or something, like people that you never even met or saw the whites of their eyes are reaching out to you and sending their love and energy to you. I know I was meant to be in Tulum twice with our soul tribe. Exactly. And it's taking leaps like that, like doing things that maybe you're uncomfortable with. Like, I'm afraid to do this. I never go near by myself. Like the one retreat that I did here in PA last year. My God, it'll be a year almost. Someone came and she was like, you don't understand. Like, I don't leave my house. Like, I don't go anywhere. Like, I was so terrified to come here. She's like, I came by myself and she drove like, I don't know. I don't remember how far the drive was, but she was a person that had really, really bad anxiety. And she, for whatever reason, she was called to come to that one-day retreat. She was going to drive home that night. She slept over in the same room as me. It was crazy. this little farmhouse. So my bedroom was big, and we were in there up until 4 o'clock in the morning that night, like telling stories. And we were with these people that were channeling. It was it was a very random and crazy experience. But there was like 6 people that slept in the room. Who was on the couch? She slept on the floor. Like, we were just all in there together. And like, I don't do that either. I don't like people in my space, like whatever. And I was just like, yeah, everybody just like, stay in here. So there's a person that just made a decision that I'm going to change the energy, and I'm going to change the trajectory of my life. And I'm going to put myself in a really uncomfortable situation, and I'm just going to go with it. And this person like didn't even leave her house, let alone, she was like, oh, I'm just going to stay for a couple of hours. Like, she was terrified. She didn't really communicate with people. And then she got more comfortable. And then I sat and I talked with her for a while. And then, she was like still a little standoffish. But by the next day, we had breakfast together. We were talking the whole time. And like, she didn't want to leave. She's like, oh my God, this was like so good for me. So we just never know that when we shift and change our energy, that the trajectory of everything can change. So she'll take that with her and say, that wasn't as scary as I thought. Now I'm going to go do this class, or I'm going to go here and meet people. So again, everything comes back to our energy. And we can manifest the greatest things, or we can manifest the worst things for ourselves. It just goes back to the energy. Yeah, Kat, exactly. So that's what it took when I jumped off the rock. I didn't jump off that friggin' rock. Now, this is the last thing I'll say about energy and stuff. So Kat came to my first retreat in Tulum, and nobody really knew each other. And there was like almost 40 people at my first retreat, which was really cool. And there were people that just came from all over the place. And everybody came, like, I don't know what this is going to be like, and I think that it's going to be fun. And, we had a great group of people. But out to the left of the resort was this gigantic rock that you had to swim to get to. And there were people that are just jumping off. And it was high. When I tell you it was high, I know, Al, I have to start planning it. Now that I'm getting back into myself, I'm going to plan the next one. I think it's going to be in Puerto Rico. You had to swim out to the rock, climb all the way up it. People had cuts on their feet and everything else because there was like sharp, like coral rock or whatever. It was high up. I was like, I am not doing that. My nephew went, and I was like a nervous wreck. I was like, Luch, I don't want you to do this. But they all got up there, and they all encouraged each other. I can't tell you what happened up there because I wasn't up there, but when they came back, they were just like, they were so high on life that like, I'm terrified. Like I was like, absolutely not. But Kat got over her fear. She swam out there, climbed up that rock with all the guys. I think she was one of the only girls. And when you get up there and you're looking down, the only way down is really if you jump. And so she did it. And they all came back and they were so excited because it had to be this most exhilarating feeling. But again, like, you're changing the energy. Could I have done it? Yes. I could have changed my energy and did it. But I didn't experience a lot on my first retreat because I was just so nervous about like everything was, happening and whatever. But again, like, you change the trajectory of your life when you do things like this that maybe you're terrified of. So again, everything in this lifetime goes back to energy and shifting the energy, changing the energy so that changes the trajectory of your life and how things can unfold. So I intend that this was helpful today. I'm so happy that I got to be here to do this again because I really missed it. But the last 2 months, like, I had nothing. I got nothing. There was nothing for me to contribute but sadness. And I just have a better understanding of everything that's happened, and to be able to speak to Leo at all times. Like today I was talking to him out loud and I was like yelling his name, and he's like in my head. Like, he's right here when I talk to him. He's literally like this close. He's like, why are you yelling? I'm right here. And he is. But in my mind, I'm just like still operating from the 3-dimensional space. I'm like, Leo, can you come and visit mommy tonight? I did that the other night and I had dreams of him all night. But I was like, I want you to actually visit like you did the other 2 times. Like here. Like, I want to see you here. And he's like, why are you yelling? I'm right here. So it's like, to be able to know that I can now do this with a soul that I was closest to, closer than anybody in my lifetime, to know that I can immediately access him changes my whole perspective on really what this is here. And it's a knowingness. It's not something that I can be like, well, I don't know if it's him. Like I know it's him. Nobody could tell me different. I know it's him because it's the same type of communication I had with him when he was here. I would ask him things telepathically and he would tell me things telepathically, and it's the same connection. It doesn't die. We just take off the costume. Right? We change forms. But our soul didn't change. So, I think this would be helpful for a lot of people that might be going through a very difficult time. And I can't wait to get into the Mary Magdalene stuff and the book of Thomas and the book of Enoch, because I'm about to shatter some more realities and I'm looking forward to it. So have a beautiful Monday, and I'll see you guys this week. I'll see you Wednesday night because I'm going to be doing the testimonials again, which is exciting as well. And yeah, love you all. I will repost this.